Hello friends, and welcome to National Anthem Enterprise's free training course on how to be a good American Negro in 2018. We have had quite a bit of hubbub lately surrounding police brutality, systematic racism, and the excessive 911 calls being made from scared white people after everyday encounters with bad Negroes. Uh-oh, the Republican Party has paid for this helpful video guide out of concern for all the colored folk that still seem unsure of their place in 2018. Following these simple guidelines will give you a fighting chance in a post-racial world, free of nooses, but full of AK-47s and the great Americans who deserve the right to bear them. Tip number 1. Accept that any altercation, whether a violent physical altercation or a verbal assault, is entirely your fault. Your skin color alone is a scary thing. It's threatening enough that it would justify you being pummeled with a barrage of bullets or having expletives and racial slurs shouted at you from a distance. The best thing for you to do on a regular basis is to keep your head down and your hands up. Let's see tip number 1 in action. Headed to the movies, going to the park, walking around your apartment, going to the bathroom, headed to a restaurant, walking home from school. You see, with my hands up, I look way less threatening. Tip number 2. Don't post inflammatory material. You're just being divisive with all that white folk, black folk talk. But if you pretend like you don't see color, racism will be instantly eradicated. And our whole socioeconomic system that was built on the backs of slaves will cease to exist. Now you see it, now you don't. Cover your eyes and think white thoughts. Free yourself from the stigma that your own blackness entails. Tip number 3. Stay in your place. Don't wander into neighborhoods that are clearly no melanin zones. This part might be hard to do because now you're colorblind, but a helpful trick is that if you see really nice restaurants or housing around, chances are this area was not meant for you. Let's visit some of these areas and see if you can figure out which neighborhoods you're supposed to be in. There are some really fancy restaurants around. Looks like I wandered into the wrong part of town. Oh, look at this. Now, this is where I belong. Uh-oh, looks like all these houses are really big. I don't think I'm meant to live here. Oh, look! The projects. You see, it's as easy as that. Pay attention to your surroundings and you'll never get lost. Also, don't try to participate in activities that are clearly not meant for people with your skin color, like golf and swimming. It throws white people off when you break stereotypes like that. And when white people get thrown off, they become in fear for their lives, and then they're totally justified in killing you dead. Oh, and if you must do black-centric activities like barbecuing, be sure to invite as many of your white friends as possible. You might even want to let one of them make the potato salad. I know that means that no one will eat it, but having some food that's not seasoned will help white people feel like they're in a more familiar environment. All that Lawry's and paprika you're using could resemble gunpowder. Remember, you have to live your life for the untrained suburban eye. If you follow these easy tips and tricks, you still might not survive America. But at least you'll know you went down as a good Negro. And remember, by the dawn's early light, if you ain't white, something ain't right.
Okay, ladies, now let's get information. Give me a P. Give me a E. Give me a T. T-Y. I'm petty all the time.
What up, YouTubers, and welcome to this week's episode of Pettylabelle. Today, we'll be discussing the phenomena that is the Cry Becky. Cry Beckies are the instigators amongst Beckies everywhere. Their mere presence alone is known to incite white people tears across the nation and around the world. We all know that white feelings are so much more important than all of those other race cards you could pull, especially the ones surrounding racial inequality and discrimination. These Beckies are also usually totally colorblind. Was it red or was it green? I don't know! They would just be heartbroken if anyone ever accused them of being a bad person or racist. in gentrified Queens. Let's take a listen to her story. I don't usually share things like this, but something happened on the bus today while waiting in line, and it's weighing on my mind. I got there early, and it was just this elderly Italian woman before another elderly Greek woman came and joined us. Queens, gotta love it. The line started getting long when the bus arrived. As the elderly woman and I stood to go to the door, a young black man joined the group and walked right up to the front door past all of us that were waiting. Unless I had put my arm out to stop him and let the elderly woman go first, he would have gotten on before them and everybody else waiting. And then he proceeded to get right in back of me to get on. Now, in this day, knowing when you say something, someone might take it the wrong way. You may get attacked in some sense or even killed. I tend to bite my tongue when it comes to people being oblivious, forgetting common decency and humanity. I also do it to avoid others of extremism and hatred to jump on the bandwagon. I remain aware of all potential consequences before saying anything. Today I turned to him and I said to him, honey, you need to go to the back of the line. He looked at me and said nothing, but he did it. Afterwards, I couldn't help but to think now I'll be labeled and videotaped and tweeted. I am very sensitive to all bias and racism, being a working artist and a teacher and a woman. It saddens me to think the state of the world still gives us pause to stand up and say something that I think is wrong for fear of the consequences. I hope the boy and those in line take what I said as a gentle reminder to treat others how you want to be treated as a human rather than a slight to you personally. That is all. What a world. Becky just had to make sure that we all knew that it was indeed a young black man cutting in the line. And then she had to make sure that even though this black line cutter was indeed black, it wasn't about his blackness, it was about respecting your elders, even while you're being black. So be sure to highlight the fact that they were black, if only to point out that you said something in spite of his blackness, not because of it. And if you see something, say something, even to a black person. But be careful, because if they are black, they might try to paint you as a racist. Don't you just hate it when they make it all about race? Another tenet of being a crybaby is that you love attention. And you live for praise, especially when it comes to your anti-racist behavior. Crybaby clearly stated that she's totally aware of the current racial climate in America. The biggest danger being that someone might film her or tweet about her being racist, when she's totally not racist. How hard it must be for Beckies everywhere to have to live in a world full of vicious, slanderous, libelous receipts that prove things like racism and judicial abuse of power clearly do exist. Now I'm speaking directly to Black America. As per Crybabies everywhere, on the bus, on the golf course, at Starbucks, walking to the store, going to your apartment building, walking around in your apartment building, our lives do matter. They just matter less than white feelings, white comfort, and pretty much everything white. If you ain't white, something ain't right.
The whole world gon' see you, boo. The whole world gon' see you. You can hide all you want. The whole world gon'
illegally selling water without a permit.
I'm petty, I like to start some mess. Yeah, heard you don't like me. Yeah, but you don't wanna get down. You don't wanna post up when Kiki come around. Break it down now. P-E to the T-T-Y. P-E to the T-T-Y. P-E to the T-T-Y. I'm petty. Yeah, I'm petty.